Hello all. So today, the objective of this entire discussion and the webinar is to give a brief overview of GeM. When I say brief overview, GeM itself is an extensive portal wherein a day is required, 4 or 5 hours is required only for understanding one part of it, be it a side of a buyer, be it a side of a seller, be it a side of different administrative procedures. Right now, in this particular webinar, in the coming 1 hour, 45 minutes, whatever we have, we'll try to understand the overview and the concepts of GeM at a broader level. If at all, post the webinar, post 1 hour, if your people's questions are not answered, which there are high chances there might be time constraints, please write mail to Puneet. You can write mail to me. If required, I can share my mail ID. Puneet will share his mail ID. You can reach out to them. You can reach out to me, and we can try to solve or resolve, share answers as much as possible. So without much ado, let's start GeM. So many of you know what is GeM, Government e-Marketplace, right? So it's a platform introduced by the Government of India to facilitate procurement of goods and services by various government ministries and departments. When I say ministries and departments, apart from government, presently, GeM is not being used for purchase for any other department, any other entities and bodies apart from government. It's a centralized marketplace where government's buyers can purchase a wide range of products and services from registered suppliers. Please mind the word I'm using, registered suppliers. I'll come to that part a bit later. First, understanding of the GeM is over, right? So in 2014-15, Government of India spearheaded this change of launching GeM, an open online platform, right? Which is user-friendly, vast selections of goods and services, encompassing everything from office supply to medical equipment, and streamlined processes for both buyers, that is government buyers, and sellers. Just to give you an idea what GeM is, a mere definition will not work. So please understand, it is a online managed separate legal entity. So it is not a part of a department. Let's say we are talking about commerce department. It is not part of the commerce department. It is a separate legal entity. When we say separate legal entity, please understand it has its own CEO, CFO, legal head, IT head, admin head, and stuff like that. It is a GeM SPV, or special purpose vehicle, which is under the Ministry of Commerce, and government is not funding them. They are making their own fund through transactions, right? Coming to the next part. Yes. GeM's success story has garnered recognition across the world stage. You have seen United Nations awarded GeM for its contribution to public service, World Procurement Award, International Innovation Award. These are for the groundbreaking approach in public procurement. Please note, apart from South Korea and Singapore, there is no such public platforms like GeM. We will go to the next slide, Puneet. Objective of GeM and growing importance in government. When we discuss about traditional or public procurement, there is always a thought process that comes around with it is the lack of transparency, lack of efficiency. So when I am trying to portray the objective of GeM, and I will share the details of the situation which was pre-GeM and post-GeM, please note this particular objective of GeM was to bring transparency. When I say bring transparency, traditional procurement process had a lot of opaque concerns about corruption, favoritism. But GeM is, it creates more open system where everything can be done online. Previously, we never knew what tender is going on in Maharashtra until and unless we get to see an advertisement in one of the papers or in any of the departments. Now anyone can get into GeM, can go into, they don't have to have a user ID password, they can just see the GeM, they can click their bids and they can see the bids. Efficiency. When I say efficiency, I'll come to that part again, as I told you, pre-GeM and post-GeM. But please understand, it saved time, it saved resources, not only for government, but for the sellers as well as for the agencies. Another most important part is inclusivity. When I say inclusivity, what does it mean? Is there anyone who's not on mute? I would request everyone to please go on mute. Please do unmute yourselves while raising questions. Yeah. So inclusivity, that means it provides equal opportunity to all type of vendors. Small and medium-sized vendors, that is MSME, startups, micro enterprises, anyone and everyone, OEMs, resellers. It serves a broader market. As a result, the competition is huge. Diverse range of procurement. When I say diverse range of procurement, it handles a wide range of products and services from office supplies to critical defense equipment. Please note, GeM is not at all only for products. Over the last few Punit, can you please mute everyone? Is there any feasibility of doing that?
Just a second, sir. I'm just connecting. You can continue the meeting.
Sure. Sure. So when I say growth in service, the platform isn't just for goods anymore. Services are taking a huge amount of percentage of the total volume of the sales being done in GeM. I will share detailed report in the next slide, but before I go, please note from 2023 to 2024, the GeM total order value has doubled to 2.01 lakh crore. That's a huge amount, right? And it has diverse procurement. Almost half of it, that is 49.37, if I'm not wrong, 49.37% of the total value of the orders has come from MSMEs, small and micro enterprises. And its growth is expected to be 20%, $20 billion. Yeah, worth over $20 billion by the next fiscal year. I'm talking about 25, yeah. And there had been a increased order level volume of the orders as well. I just shared you one detail. I'll put it in the chat box also if possible. Yesterday I was reading this, that the Ministry of the Defense is the biggest buyer. Tapan Shah wrote no audio. So are you not able to hear me?
We are able to hear you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Maybe go to the next slide. Okay. Now, as I told in the very previous slide about the objectives of GeM, I told about the transparency part, I told about the efficiency part. I'll share a brief on pre-GeM and post-GeM, how things were and how GeM right now is working to make sure that the pre-GeM, post-GeM scenario is easily understandable. I'll share you details. For example, for conventional manual procurement, what used to happen? The user initiates a requisition, right? Outlining their specific needs. The procurement team then identifies some vendors in the local marketplace. Then 3 quotation quote would have happened. Upon receiving the quotations, again, the procurement team used to conduct a comparative analysis. The vendor offering the lowest price and the reasonable price is being selected. Then a formal purchase order would have sent to them. In case of 3 quotation system, this would have been the first and the main choice, right? What about the L1, L2 that we used to do for tendering? Same, the initial process remains the same. Over there, we have to also produce a tender fee. A tender advertisement used to come. Then the interested vendor was to express their interest. Then eligible vendors were invited for some tender documentation. They used to download the tender documents. Then there would have been a pre-bid meeting. Then tender submission. Then tender opening. Then evaluation. Again, evaluation would have happened in 2 cases. First is those technical evaluation, then financial evaluation. And then contract award. Even after contract award, we were not sure when we will get the money from the government. Now what has happened? In the very initial slide, I told you about registered sellers. When I say registered sellers, the first thing that comes in GeM is restricted participation. Only registered sellers and buyers can participate in GeM transaction. Unregistered vendors cannot initiate or participate in procurement. Transparency. Much better transparent because it helps potential vendors for decision making. Unregistered users can also see ongoing procurement. When government initiated this GeM, please understand it was done for the government. That is, it is a buyer centric. As a result, the work for the buyer has also come down because the system guides them through the entire procurement process. Streamlined invoicing, streamlined delivery system. What does it mean? Unlike manual procurement, where delivery precedes invoicing, GeM is not the case in that way. There has to be steps of this. First, you have to go, you have to upload these things, then you will get the buy. First, you have to block the fund to get the material in the GeM. Once you block the fund, you can initiate the buying process. Once you buy the process, system will automatically generate a CRSC with the respective steps. Previously, you used to call the Sharma ji, मुझे ये चाहिए, can you please send those things? मैं आपको PO भेजता हूं. This case, that can't be possible. So transparency, procurement process, supplier participation. As I told you, time consuming. Previously, it was extremely time consuming. Now it is reduced a lot. Compliance challenges. I remember from my days when I used to work for several government bids, there had been several times when post bid opening, post contract giving to the vendor, there were situations where government could not get all the documents from the vendor because there were so many Benami sellers. In case of GeM, that can't be the case. The sellers have to register themselves. Apart from that, they cannot access the government portal. Now there might be questions. How can that be validated? How will you know the seller is not a Benami? The entire thing is done with digital validation. Please understand, when a seller wanted to register their organization, if it is a sole proprietor, they are expected to enter their PAN number, their Aadhaar number, mobile number attached to Aadhaar number, GST number. With that validation, the seller has been identified. In case of partnership firm, if it is a registered partnership, then again a partnership deed has to be there. Sorry. In case of LLP, there is a CIN number. Based on the data entered, the system will validate with MCA 21, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, saying that yes, this organization is a valid organization. The CIN number is correct. So with those basic checks, in general, the chances becomes extremely reduced. We'll go to the next slide. Puneet, are you there? Yes. So while we will talk about GeM in detail with the people who will be talking with for the trainings and all, in this particular scenario, we will only talk about the key concepts of GeM. Please note, GeM or handling GeM is not a very tough job. It's not a very tough thing, provided you know the concept. If the concept is not there, many of the cases we have seen people falter. And that is where ISM comes into picture, where we handhold sellers. We talk to buyers, making sure that they understand the concept of GeM. So first concept that comes into picture is GFR. What is GFR? GFR is the backbone of financial management and procurement procedures within the government. They ensure transparency, fairness, accountability in all financial transactions. Under GFR 149, within the realm of the government e-marketplace, GFR 149 holds specific relevance. It mandates the use of GeM for certain categories of purchase or procurement, right? Highlighting the platform's role in promoting efficiency, transparency in government procurement. Again, including direct procurement through GeM, exemptions from tendering process of certain items, and mandatory registration of government buyers on the platform. These provisions compliance with regulation while simplifying and standardizing procurement practices. I'll give a small example which will help you understand the application of this GFR in GeM. Very recent, that we had been consulting one of the government hospitals, okay, which required a new batch of syringes. Now these syringes fall under the category of common use goods, which is readily available in the GeM. applying GeM, applying the GFR 149 of GeM, it is mandatory for the government to use GeM. So the hospital is obligated to use GeM platform for its procurement, since syringes are commonly used items available there. Then what happens? The hospital's team do not need to go through tendering process. They can directly access the GeM portal. Most important part is the pricing. You get a competitive price from several vendors across India. If the total value of the syringe is less than 2,500, 25,000, hospital can directly buy without any approval from higher authority. If it is 25,000 ke upar, if the order value exceeds that, as per GFR 149, it mandates selecting supplier offering the lowest responsive prices in GeM. Then comes GeM terms and conditions. Basic we will go through. For sellers, registration is mandatory. It has to meet the eligibility criteria. Product listing, products offers must be available on GeM for the duration of the bid or contract validity period. Minimum discount has to be 10% on the MRP, maximum retail price, unless otherwise specified. Similarly with pricing, offered cannot exceed MRP, including, please understand, including other e-commerce platforms, and the violation can lead to removal from GeM. All products on GeM are offered on free delivery basis, including loading and unloading. These are all terms of GeM, right? So if you go through the government website, if you go through the right people, right training institutes, you will get to see, they will share you the entire GeM's terms and conditions, a sheet of around 50 to 53 pages, which will help the seller or the buyer to understand, and they can easily refer to that. Similarly, they will also share you the GFR. GFR is a 218-page big document which will help the buyer or the seller understand the methods, the procurement process, where they can refer. For buyers, again, registration is mandatory for government buyers and officials, authorized officials. Buyers must follow GFR guidelines for using GeM for specific procurement as per GFR 149. For specific value ranges, purchases require bids from a minimum number of different manufacturers on GeM. Please note again, GeM typically facilitates online payments to sellers after successful delivery and verification by the buyer. Now, there were questions in the very initial discussions when we were talking that what is ATC, or additional terms and conditions, apart from GeM terms and conditions. I'll just touch base it to make your people aware what ATC is or what additional terms and conditions are. Please note the main aim of ATC or additional term and condition is not a single condition, but rather a commitment to complying with the terms and conditions outlined by the GeM. For example, there had been several scenarios where a food and beverage partner is being asked to put a bid, start to fill up a tender or a bid. The additional terms and conditions may include supply of cutleries and crockeries by the vendor. This particular terms and conditions may not be there in GeM terms and conditions. So the buyer added this particular terms and conditions to make sure while the bid is being uploaded, the vendor can read the additional term and condition and then share the price. Then there is a GTC or general terms and conditions, or STC, standard terms and conditions. These are all specific to tenders, and the bidder agrees to adhere these terms as well. Our next point is benefits. Okay, you are going to the next slide. Sure, I'll just touch base on the CVC part, or we can go to the next slide as well. Just hold 1 minute. Puneet, can you go to the slide of who can buy and sell, the one above this? Yeah, thank you. So, who can buy and sell in GeM portal? Only government legal entities are allowed to register as buyer and procure goods and services. When we mention government, it includes any legal entity recognized by central government, state government, union territory, educational institute, research institute. I'll give you an example. There is a GeM detailed SOP, scope of work, SOW for every IIT, for every IIM. This is an example I am giving. Even universities, trust, even Panchayat Raj, all registered cooperative societies can are permitted, if I'm not wrong, as register as buyer and procure goods. As a seller, any Indian legal entity can sell. It includes Indian companies, organizations, individuals recognized under Indian government, LLP, trust, association of persons, and society. Now, many of one of the people ask, what about MNCs who are abroad? MNCs and import companies can either register their subsidiary company in India as a seller or authorize their dealer or distributor to register as a seller and upload products and services in the GeM portal. Yes, you can go to the next slide now. Yes, essential features offered by the government e-marketplace. So first and foremost, e-purchase. GeM enables buyers to create and publish electronic purchase without tender or bidding for procurement requirements. The features like L1 direct purchase features streamlines this entire purchasing process, reducing paperwork and manual effort. Second is bidding. There are several types of bidding. We have bidding like regular bid, reverse auction, bid to reverse, forward auction, service bid, product bunch bid, service bunch bid, custom bid, BOQ bid. These are all bids which can be easily done with GeM coming into picture. Reverse auction, just I mentioned, where sellers compete with each other for the lowest price for a specific product or services. Government buyers benefit from this particular competitive price and cost saving through reverse auction on GeM. Most important part, vendor management. What is vendor management? GeM provides a comprehensive vendor management system for the government buyers. Buyers can search, they can evaluate, they can onboard details, they can look on the performance, the quality, the compliance with the government standards. Catalog management. Another most important thing is where the seller can upload materials as per the capacity to sell to the buyer, as well as the buyer can also have a centralized management system with a wide range of products. They can easily browse those systems, compare prices, and place order directly on the platform. This is one of the most important thing for a seller to understand and for a buyer to web browse through. Order management, again, another most important thing. GeM streamlines order management process from order placement to delivery and invoicing. This was one of the pain areas of pre-GeM or pre-tendering era, where the entire process used to be long. Now that has come into much shorter phase. I will share a detailed workflow with you all people to understand how easy it can be. Compliance monitoring, again, another thing that I told you, it has a mechanism to ensure adherence to government rules and regulations. Buyers can verify vendor compliance policy related to GST, MSME certification, and other regulatory certifications. Feedback and rating system, one of the most important part for the buyer as well as for the seller. GeM features a feedback and rating system where buyers can provide reviews and ratings of the vendor. This helps in transparency and accountability. Integration with payment gateway. Buyers can make payment seamlessly with this platform, reducing the need of manual intervention. Whenever there are manual intervention, there are high chances of mishandling, which is not there in part of GeM. It in result fosters transparency, competition, and most importantly, cost effectiveness. Right? We will go to the next slide. Common pain point for sellers. I had been part of a seller. Now I'm consulting sellers for GeM. I can tell you, situation has changed a lot. The tendering era had been extremely cumbersome, extremely time consuming. We had to run to the government office 10 times to ask what is the status. Okay, ye document nahi hai, I have to give. Now it has absolutely not there. We don't have to pay any tender fee. We don't have to fill these big forms. The visibility is huge. Sellers previously had faced a lot of payment delays, which is now not the case in case of GeM. Technical, there have been several issues, glitches. Now GeM portal coming into place, those types of system, those type of complaints or the issues from buyer has reduced. Many of the buyers I know had been using CPP portal for tendering. GeM is one notch above for all those. Compliance requirement. Just a few minutes back, I was talking to your people about the compliance issues we used to face while working with government. With GeM coming in picture, that is absolutely not there. In the next slide, I will show you how the procurement life cycle works for buyers as well as sellers. Please see, this is exactly how it works. For a buyer, it does not take more than 20 minutes. Many of the time, many of the situations, while consulting the buyer, while consulting the seller, since the basic concept is not clear, we face issues. But if we have the documents in place, if we have the details in place, it does not take more than 20 minutes, 30 minutes for registration. This direct purchase, bid to RA, these delivery periods, all are the standards for 7 days, 21 days, as per contract terms and stuff like that. And there had been several situations with competent financial authority approval. The buyer has extended dates as well as reduced dates for their tendering process. So in many of the cases, we hear from buyers stating, okay, I got this thing, this is done. After that, the vendor's telling that this is not possible. Then I mark the vendor a red flag. And again, we have to start the entire process. In many of the cases, we have seen, okay, this is L1, this is L2, but I know that this is better. How should I go ahead with it? So everywhere, the processes are very clear in GeM. You can go through several such things which can be approved by the Competent Financial Authority, CFA, and you can work on those. Next slide, please. Benefits of GeM for sellers and buyers. Let's talk about sellers first. Expanded market reach and visibility. What do you mean by that? Every seller across India. So previously what used to happen, now when I'm talking to the buyers, so the sellers, consulting them, they say, we had a thought process that if I need any government business, I should have an office in Delhi. Now that is not the case. A seller can sell their material from anywhere. A direct access to a nationwide network of government buyers across departments and agencies. What happens then? The primary thing that it does, it eliminates the geographical limitation and it showcases products to a much larger audience. Reliable customer base. When I'm dealing business with government, they are reliable customer base for me. As a result, I as a seller has an increased brand exposure. I will have a recognition among the government bodies, right? Simplified and streamlined operations. This is most probably the third time I'm telling that entire process of GeM is online. There is no manual intervention. As a result, from registration, product listing, vendor assessment, catalog management, order management, bidding, payment, delivery, if any issue with delivery, return of the material, and subsequent payment process is entirely online. As a result, it is a user-friendly for the seller as well, because it has reduced the paperwork, the turnaround time compared to the traditional tendering methods. Third and most important, fair and competitive bidding environment. With GeM coming in picture, the transparent bidding process is ensuring equal opportunity to compete for all government contracts. Participation in the reverse auction can lead to increased sales volumes for the sellers through a much more competitive pricing. As a result, their ability, the sellers are having an ability to showcase their quality product and value proposition. It is not only about the quality product, their value proposition to secure government contracts, which is extremely beneficial for the seller. Now what happens? It increases their cash flow. How? Because the entire payment is online through GeM pool account. So GeM has tied up, has MOU with all the banks for GeM pool accounts to be done, from where they block the fund and post the delivery, the fund can be released to the seller. What happens then? The predictability of the cash flow for the seller increases. Enhanced brand reputation and growth potential, as I told you. Then comes buyer. Punit, we can go stick with the other slide. Yeah. Then come buyers. What does buyer help? Please note, as I told you previously, the entire GeM system or the government e-marketplace system is being made keeping in mind the buyer. It is a buyer-centric portal. As a result, it helps the buyer enhancing the transparency and accountability. They have a centralized platform for accessible procurement information. It has all the digital trails ensuring transaction accountability and spending traceability. It has reduced risk of irregularities and automated checks through minimize legal disputes. When I say minimal legal disputes, please understand there had been many scenarios where while working with the GeM pre-tender, there had been issues with compliance and the buyer and the seller had to go bring each other to court to prove who is right, who is wrong. There had been many agreements, there had been many LOI used to get signed and stuff like that, which is not there in case of GeM. I'll give you one example. Previously, there were rate contracts with buyer as well as with the vendors, sellers. Now, with GeM coming in picture, that rate contract concept is not there. So how will the buyer get the same rate or the most competitive rate? GeM has come up with a staggered delivery of 5 years for services as well as products, where I can buy products, laptop, computer, mobile, XYZ, and I can get staggered delivery. 5 now, 5 after 5 months, 3 after 7 months, 2 after 7 months. As a result, same like rate contract, I am getting staggered delivery without any paperwork, entirely digitally done. Improved efficiency and cost savings. Again, how it is improving the efficiency and cost saving? Just by reducing the time. Just by reducing the number of people involved in the entire procurement process. Now, pre-tendering situation has been different. Now, entire process is through machine, bulk buying, aggregated demand lead. As a result, economics of scale and lower prices. We have competitive bidding and price comparison tools to get the best value for purchases. Wide range of verified suppliers and products. What does it mean? That means buyer have access to diverse pool of suppliers, be it small cottage industry, be it a MSME, be it a micro industry, be it a startup. Everyone has visibility and the buyer can see everyone working, making, delivering the product for one particular item. As a result, the opportunity to discover new supplier and products beyond the traditional channels has increased a lot. Simplified user experience and data-driven decision making. When I say simplified user experience, I mean user-friendly interface. Anytime, anywhere, Access facilitates remote procurement and stakeholder collaboration. You will get the analytics, You will get to see how many people bought this item, how many people bought this item for the last few years, last few months. You can understand the supply, you can understand the pricing, and you can do the plan accordingly. Risk mitigation and sustainable practices. What do you mean by the word risk mitigation and successful practices in GeM? That means Benami buyers, bogus buyers, Benami sellers, bogus sellers are not in GeM. Do I mean to say that they do not come? There is no other way. Of course, there are few cases. But the buyer has the authority to rate the vendor, to blacklist the vendor. As a result, the other buyer, while looking for that particular vendor, they will see the vendor performance rating. As a result, they can mitigate the risk. And sustainable procurement, if while I am buying, I have few sustainability criterias to be kept for buying, I can put those in the tendering terms and conditions. As a result, I will get only those buyers, those sellers who will have a broader social and economical efforts in reducing carbon footprint, in reducing sustainability operations. Overall, GeM empowers government organization with transparent, efficient, user-friendly procurement platform. What happens? Most important, cost saving. Right? So this is what the entire process of GeM is on a broader level. Puneet, you can stop the screen sharing. I have one question, and there had been few questions also previously. Okay, right now I have one question. Can GeM be utilized by private organization? It is dedicated for government buying only. As of now, GeM is dedicated to government buying only.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving your brief explanation about the GeM portal. There are many questions, I guess, from the participants. One in the chat box from Mr. Ghansham Thakur, like, can GeM be used by private organizations or it is dedicated for government buying only?
So presently, GeM is being utilized only for government entities. Private sellers, private are only the sellers. EMD applicability through GeM. EMD applicability through GeM. Please note, EMD is not a mandatory application in GeM. If the buyer feels there is a requirement, then only they put the EMD. Else, EMD is not there. If I look at the screen right now, I can see only my face and every other names are there. Is there any feasibility we can switch on the camera just for 30 seconds? We will see all our 43 participants for.
We request all to switch on the webcams so we can have a one-to-one interaction. And if there are any questions from anyone, so they can put on the chat board, they can discuss.
We have very few minutes left. I got few questions. I'll just answer those.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah, please.
Myself, Giren Sarkar from Guwahati.
Yes, sir.
My question is, if a government entity can be a seller?
Yes, sir. Government entity can be seller. Let's say Coal India.
Okay, sir.
Let's say Indian Oil.
Okay, sir.
So they are government entities. But Indian Oil sells oil or Coal India sells coal. So they can register as buyer as well as seller.
Okay, sir. Then compliances will be similar, same to the private entity?
Yes.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. One question has come. What will happen to MNCs? Okay. Multinational companies, people who are from out of India and import material. The MNCs and the important item companies have the provision whether they can have their subsidiary company over here in India and can register as a seller, or their authorized dealer or distributor can also be allowed to register as a seller and upload their product and services in the GeM. That provision is there. One question has come, can NGOs be a buyer? Okay. Please note, NGOs can be buyers provided they are a legal entity by any act passed by the parliament, any state assembly, state legislative assembly, or union territory assembly. If not, they can't be.